The morning sun cast long shadows across the military base as Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez adjusted his grip on the pull-up bar. Sweat dripped steadily from his forehead onto the rubber matting below, each drop marking another repetition in what had become his daily ritual. The base gymnasium buzzed with the familiar sounds of military personnel pushing their physical limits, the rhythmic clanking of weights, the steady thump of running feet on treadmills, and the occasional grunt of effort from soldiers testing their endurance. Rodriguez had been stationed at Fort Henderson for 18 months, long enough to establish routines that kept both his body and mind sharp. The gym sessions weren't just about maintaining military fitness standards, they were his sanctuary, a place where the complexities of military operations could be temporarily set aside in favor of simple, measurable goals. 20 pull-ups, 50 push-ups, a 5-mile run, these were challenges with clear outcomes, unlike the often ambiguous nature of intelligence briefings and strategic planning that filled his regular duties. Around him, fellow service members went through their own training regimens. Sergeant Thompson worked through a series of deadlifts, his face focused and determined as he prepared for an upcoming fitness evaluation. Corporal Jenkins practiced combat movements on the mat, her precise kicks and punches reflecting hours of disciplined practice. The camaraderie in the gym was different from the formal hierarchy that governed their professional interactions. Here, rank mattered less than mutual respect for the effort everyone put into bettering themselves. The gymnasium itself was a testament to military efficiency. Every piece of equipment had its designated place, maintained to exacting standards by the soldiers who used it. The walls displayed motivational posters alongside safety guidelines, creating an environment that encouraged both peak performance and careful attention to proper form. Large windows along the eastern wall allowed natural light to flood the space during morning workouts, while industrial fans maintained air circulation even during the most intense training sessions. Rodriguez's workout routine had evolved over his years of service. What began as basic calisthenics during his academy days had grown into a comprehensive fitness program that addressed every aspect of physical readiness. He understood that in his role as a tactical operations officer, physical fitness wasn't just about personal health, it could mean the difference between life and death in field situations. Every muscle fiber developed through these daily sessions might prove crucial during emergency deployments or extended field operations. As he transitioned from pull-ups to a series of weighted exercises, Rodriguez reflected on the intelligence briefing from the previous day. Tensions in several global hotspots had been escalating, and his unit had been placed on elevated readiness status. While no immediate deployments were scheduled, the possibility lingered in the background of every conversation and planning session. This uncertainty made his physical preparation even more critical. He never knew when the call might come to transition from routine base operations to active field duty. The other soldiers in the gym shared this underlying awareness. Their conversations, when they occurred between sets, often touched on current events and potential mission scenarios. However, these discussions remained general and hypothetical. Specific operational details were reserved for secure briefing rooms and authorized personnel only. The gym served as a neutral ground where military professionals could maintain their readiness while briefly setting aside the weight of their responsibilities. Thompson approached Rodriguez's station as the lieutenant completed his set. The sergeant had been Rodriguez's workout partner on and off for the past 6 months, and their informal partnership had developed into a reliable training relationship. Both men pushed each other to maintain high standards, understanding that their individual fitness levels could impact their unit's overall effectiveness. "Heard there's another briefing scheduled for this afternoon," Thompson mentioned quietly as he spotted Rodriguez during bench press repetitions. "Third one this week." Rodriguez nodded, maintaining his focus on the exercise while acknowledging the information. Increased briefing frequency often indicated developing situations that required enhanced preparedness. While he couldn't discuss specifics in the open environment of the gym, the pattern was clear to anyone with experience reading military operational rhythms. The morning workout continued with its familiar intensity. Rodriguez moved through his planned exercises with practiced efficiency, each movement deliberate and controlled. Years of military training had taught him to maximize the effectiveness of every minute spent in physical preparation. Time was always a limited resource in military life, and successful officers learned to make every training session count toward their overall readiness goals. Other personnel filtered in and out of the gymnasium as shifts changed and daily schedules progressed. The base operated on multiple overlapping timelines, with different units maintaining varying states of readiness and operational focus. Rodriguez's tactical operations unit maintained one of the more demanding schedules, requiring constant preparation for potential rapid deployment scenarios. As he worked through a series of core strengthening exercises, Rodriguez noticed Colonel Peterson entering the gymnasium. The colonel's presence wasn't unusual. Senior officers understood the importance of maintaining physical fitness standards and often used the same facilities as their subordinates. However, Peterson's expression suggested something beyond routine exercise motivation. The colonel surveyed the room briefly before approaching the administrative office adjacent to the main workout area. The subtle change in atmosphere wasn't lost on the experienced personnel present. While they continued their workouts, several soldiers unconsciously adjusted their positions to better observe any developments. Military training instilled heightened situational awareness that extended far beyond combat scenarios. Unusual patterns in routine activities often provided early indicators of changing circumstances. Rodriguez completed his planned workout routine and moved to the stretching area for his cool-down period. The methodical process of muscle recovery served dual purposes: preventing injury and providing time for mental transition back to his operational duties. As he worked through the familiar sequence of stretches, he reviewed his schedule for the remainder of the day and the priorities awaiting his attention. The intelligence analysis that had occupied much of his recent attention involved complex geopolitical developments that could impact multiple operational theaters. His role required synthesizing information from various sources to provide actionable intelligence briefings for command personnel. The work demanded both analytical precision and the ability to communicate complex scenarios in clear, decisive terms that supported effective decision-making. As Rodriguez gathered his equipment and prepared to leave the gymnasium, he reflected on the balance between physical and mental preparation that defined military readiness. The hours spent in focused physical training would enhance his ability to handle the mental demands of intelligence analysis and tactical planning. Every aspect of military life interconnected in ways that reinforced overall effectiveness and mission success. The transition from gym time to operational duties represented one of many daily shifts that military personnel navigated seamlessly. Rodriguez's mind began focusing on the afternoon briefing Thompson had mentioned, considering the potential implications and the preparation required to contribute meaningfully to whatever discussions would unfold. His physical training session had served its purpose, his body was energized and his mind was clear and focused. Walking toward the locker room, Rodriguez exchanged brief greetings with colleagues beginning their own workout sessions. The continuous cycle of personnel maintaining their readiness created a steady rhythm that characterized life on the base. Everyone understood their individual responsibility to remain prepared for whatever missions might arise, and the gymnasium served as a crucial component in that ongoing preparation. The shower and change of clothes that followed provided the final transition from physical training back to his professional duties. Rodriguez's uniform represented not just his rank and position, but his commitment to the responsibilities that came with tactical operations leadership. As he adjusted his insignia and checked his appearance in the mirror, he mentally prepared for the challenges that awaited him in the intelligence center. The brief walk from the gymnasium to the tactical operations building gave Rodriguez time to observe the broader activity levels across the base. Vehicle movement seemed slightly elevated, and personnel moved with the purposeful urgency that often indicated developing situations. These subtle indicators, barely noticeable to civilian observers, provided experienced military personnel with early awareness of changing operational conditions. Entering the operations building, Rodriguez was immediately struck by the increased activity level compared to typical morning routines. Personnel moved between offices and briefing rooms with focused determination, and the overall energy suggested significant developments requiring attention. The contrast with the calm, measured environment of the gymnasium just minutes earlier highlighted the rapid pace at which military situations could evolve. Rodriguez made his way to his office to review any overnight intelligence updates and prepare for his contributions to the afternoon briefing. The transition from physical training to analytical work required a different type of focus, but the mental clarity gained through exercise enhanced his ability to process complex information and identify critical patterns. His morning workout had prepared him not just physically, but mentally for whatever challenges the day might present. Rodriguez settled into his desk chair and powered up the secure terminal that connected him to the military intelligence network. The familiar blue glow of the monitor cast shadows across stacks of classified briefing materials and situation reports that had accumulated since the previous evening. His office, located on the second floor of the Tactical Operations Building, provided a clear view of the base's central courtyard where personnel moved between buildings with the measured efficiency that characterized military installations worldwide. The overnight intelligence summary contains several developments that immediately captured his attention. Satellite imagery from the previous 12 hours showed unusual military vehicle movements in 3 separate regions of strategic interest. While none of the activity individually represented immediate threats, the pattern of simultaneous movements across different geographical areas suggested coordinated planning that warranted closer analysis. Rodriguez opened the detailed photographic intelligence files and began systematically reviewing the high-resolution images. His training in pattern recognition and threat assessment allowed him to identify subtle indicators that might escape notice from less experienced analysts. Vehicle positioning, the timing of movements, and the apparent coordination between different units all contributed to an emerging picture that required careful consideration. As he worked through the intelligence materials, Rodriguez maintained awareness of the increased activity levels throughout the operations building. Footsteps in the hallway moved with greater urgency than typical morning routines, and the occasional sound of rapid telephone conversations suggested developing situations that demanded immediate attention. The contrast between the calm focus required for detailed analysis and the heightened operational tempo created a familiar tension that experienced military personnel learned to navigate effectively. Captain Sarah Williams knocked on Rodriguez's office door before entering with additional intelligence materials. Williams served as the regional intelligence coordinator and had been working closely with Rodriguez on the analysis of recent geopolitical developments. Her expression conveyed both professional focus and underlying concern about the implications of the information she carried. "The overnight intercepts came in about an hour ago," Williams said quietly, placing a sealed folder on Rodriguez's desk. "Communications patterns show significant increases in encrypted traffic between known military command centers. The timing correlates with the vehicle movements you're analyzing." Rodriguez opened the folder and quickly scanned the communications intelligence summary. The combination of visual and signals intelligence created a more complete picture of coordinated military activity that extended beyond simple training exercises or routine deployments. The scale and timing suggested operational planning that could impact regional stability and potentially require responsive action from allied forces. "Have we shared this analysis with the other intelligence units?" Rodriguez asked while continuing to review the intercepted communications data. "Preliminary reports went out 20 minutes ago," Williams replied. "Command wants a comprehensive threat assessment by 1400 hours for the afternoon briefing. They're specifically requesting your input on tactical implications and recommended response options." The timeline for the analysis represented a challenging but manageable deadline. Rodriguez understood that rapid intelligence assessment often meant the difference between proactive response and reactive crisis management. His role required balancing thoroughness with timeliness, ensuring that decision-makers received accurate information quickly enough to maintain strategic advantages. Williams left to coordinate with other intelligence analysts while Rodriguez focused on developing the tactical assessment that would form the core of his briefing contribution. The process required synthesizing multiple information sources into coherent scenarios that highlighted both immediate threats and longer-term implications. His years of experience in tactical operations provided the practical context needed to translate intelligence data into actionable military recommendations. The satellite imagery revealed vehicle movements that followed patterns consistent with deployment preparation rather than training exercises. The spacing between vehicles, the selection of routes, and the apparent coordination between different units all suggested operational rather than routine activities. Rodriguez documented these observations while cross-referencing them with known military capabilities and historical deployment patterns. The communications intercepts provided additional context for the visual intelligence. Increased message traffic often preceded significant military operations, and the encryption levels being employed indicated high-priority communications between senior command elements. While the actual content of the messages remained secure, the patterns and timing provided valuable intelligence about the scope and urgency of whatever planning was underway. Rodriguez's analysis began to reveal a coordinated military buildup that spanned multiple regions and involved substantial resources. The scale suggested strategic rather than tactical objectives, with implications that could extend well beyond immediate regional concerns. His assessment needed to address both the direct military threats and the broader geopolitical implications that might influence Allied response planning. The telephone on Rodriguez's desk rang with the distinctive tone that indicated secure communication from the command center. Colonel Peterson's voice conveyed the authoritative calm that characterized senior military leadership during developing situations. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, I need your preliminary assessment available for review by 1300 hours, Peterson said. "The Joint Chiefs are requesting expedited analysis on the developing situation, and your tactical expertise is critical to their understanding of potential response requirements." "Understood, sir," Rodriguez replied. "I'm incorporating the overnight intelligence with the vehicle movement analysis. The preliminary indicators suggest coordinated deployment preparation across multiple regions. Keep me informed of any significant developments," Peterson said before ending the call. The elevated priority reflected the seriousness with which senior leadership viewed the intelligence patterns Rodriguez was analyzing. When Joint Chiefs requested expedited assessments, it typically indicated potential policy implications that could affect military readiness levels and deployment planning across multiple service branches. Rodriguez returned to his analysis with renewed focus on identifying specific tactical indicators that would inform strategic decision-making. The combination of satellite imagery and communications intelligence provided multiple data points that, when properly analyzed, could reveal operational timelines and deployment capabilities. His assessment needed to address both immediate tactical threats and the strategic implications for regional security. The office environment around Rodriguez reflected the increased operational tempo throughout the building. Personnel moved between offices and briefing rooms with focused determination, and the steady hum of secure communications equipment indicated elevated information processing requirements. The atmosphere conveyed professional urgency without panic, demonstrating the disciplined response that characterized military organizations during periods of heightened alertness. As Rodriguez worked through the detailed analysis, he maintained awareness of the broader implications of the intelligence he was processing. Military buildups rarely occurred in isolation, and the coordinated nature of the activities he was documenting suggested strategic planning that could influence regional stability for months or years. His tactical assessment would contribute to policy discussions that might determine military response strategies and alliance coordination. The satellite imagery analysis revealed additional details as Rodriguez examined the photographs with specialized image analysis software. The resolution allowed identification of specific vehicle types and equipment configurations that provided insights into intended operational capabilities. Heavy transport vehicles suggested logistical preparation for sustained operations, while the presence of specialized equipment indicated potential communications and command capabilities. Rodriguez's tactical experience allowed him to interpret the equipment configurations in terms of probable operational requirements. The combination of vehicles and equipment suggested preparation for complex operations that would require significant logistical support and advanced communications capabilities. These indicators pointed toward strategic rather than limited tactical objectives, with implications for regional military balance. The communications intelligence provided timing indicators that correlated with the visual evidence from satellite imagery. Peak communication periods aligned with observed vehicle movements, suggesting coordinated planning and execution of deployment preparations. The synchronization between communications and physical activities demonstrated sophisticated operational planning capabilities that warranted serious consideration in threat assessments. As the morning progressed, Rodriguez continued developing his comprehensive analysis while monitoring additional intelligence updates that arrived throughout the building. The steady flow of new information required constant reassessment of preliminary conclusions and adjustment of threat estimates based on emerging patterns. His analytical process balanced systematic methodology with adaptive response to changing intelligence pictures. The tactical implications of the developing situation extended beyond immediate military considerations to include potential impacts on civilian populations and regional economic stability. Rodriguez's assessment needed to address these broader consequences while maintaining focus on the specific military threats and response options that would guide strategic decision-making. The complexity of modern military operations required analysis that considered multiple dimensions of potential conflict scenarios. Rodriguez reviewed his preliminary findings and began organizing the information into the structured format required for command briefings. The presentation needed to convey complex analytical conclusions in clear, actionable terms that would support effective decision-making by senior leadership. His years of experience in tactical operations provided the practical context needed to translate intelligence analysis into military recommendations that balanced strategic objectives with operational capabilities. The phone rang again as Rodriguez was finalizing his initial assessment. This time, the call came from the Joint Intelligence Center requesting additional details about specific equipment configurations identified in the satellite imagery. The request indicated that multiple analytical teams were working on different aspects of the same intelligence picture, with Rodriguez's tactical expertise contributing to a comprehensive threat assessment being developed across several military organizations. We need clarification on the vehicle spacing patterns you identified in grid reference 77 Alpha, the intelligence coordinator said. Our analysts are seeing similar patterns in adjacent regions, and your tactical interpretation could help establish whether this represents standard deployment doctrine or modified operational planning. Rodriguez quickly accessed the relevant imagery and provided the requested analysis, explaining how the vehicle spacing suggested coordination between different operational units. The patterns indicated sophisticated planning that went beyond routine deployment procedures, supporting the conclusion that significant operational activities were being prepared rather than standard training exercises. After completing the additional analysis request, Rodriguez returned to his comprehensive assessment with enhanced understanding of the broader intelligence picture being developed across multiple analytical teams. The coordination between different intelligence units demonstrated the complexity of the situation and the importance of thorough analysis in supporting strategic decision-making. The afternoon briefing room filled with key personnel from across the base as Rodriguez made final preparations for his presentation. The secure conference facility, located in the heart of the Tactical Operations Building, featured advanced audiovisual equipment and secure communications links that allowed real-time coordination with other military installations. Large wall-mounted displays showed current operational maps and intelligence summaries that would support the detailed discussions about to unfold. Colonel Peterson entered the briefing room followed by several senior officers from different operational units. The presence of personnel from intelligence, logistics, communications, and field operations indicated the comprehensive nature of the situation requiring analysis. Rodriguez recognized most of the attendees from previous briefings, but the inclusion of senior staff from neighboring installations suggested elevated concern about the developing intelligence picture. Ladies and gentlemen, we have significant developments that require immediate assessment and potential response planning, Peterson began, establishing the serious tone for the briefing. Lieutenant Rodriguez will present the tactical intelligence analysis, followed by operational assessments from each unit. We need clear recommendations for command consideration within the next 2 hours. Rodriguez activated the main display and began presenting the satellite imagery that formed the foundation of his analysis. The high-resolution photographs showed vehicle movements and equipment positioning across multiple geographical regions, with timeline overlays that demonstrated the coordinated nature of the observed activities. His presentation highlighted specific indicators that distinguished the current movements from routine training or standard deployment procedures. The vehicle spacing and route selection patterns indicate operational deployment rather than training exercises, Rodriguez explained, using laser pointer to highlight specific details in the imagery. The coordination between different regions suggests strategic rather than tactical objectives, with timeline indicators pointing toward preparation for sustained operations rather than limited actions. The briefing room atmosphere reflected focused professional attention as attendees analyzed the presented information. Questions emerged about specific equipment capabilities, logistical requirements, and potential operational timelines based on the observed activities. Rodriguez's tactical expertise allowed him to address these concerns with detailed analysis that connected intelligence observations to probable operational implications. Captain Williams presented the communications intelligence that correlated with Rodriguez's visual analysis. The encrypted traffic patterns showed significant increases in high-priority communications between known military command centers, with timing that aligned precisely with the observed vehicle movements. The combination of visual and signals intelligence created a comprehensive picture of coordinated military planning that warranted serious consideration. The encryption levels and communication frequencies indicate senior command involvement in whatever operations are being planned, Williams reported. The geographic distribution of communications sources suggests coordination between different military districts, pointing toward strategic rather than regional objectives. The intelligence presentations established a clear foundation for operational planning discussions. Senior officers from different units began analyzing potential response requirements based on the assessed threats and timeline indicators. The collaborative approach demonstrated the military's systematic methodology for translating intelligence analysis into actionable operational plans. Major Harrison from the logistics unit presented analysis of the supply chain implications suggested by the intelligence picture. The scale of vehicle movements and equipment positioning indicated substantial logistical requirements that would necessitate significant resources and extended preparation periods. His assessment provided crucial context for understanding the timeline and scope of potential operations being planned by hostile forces. The logistical footprint suggests preparation for operations lasting several months rather than limited tactical actions, Harrison reported. The equipment configurations indicate capabilities for sustained operations in multiple terrain types, with supply chain requirements that point toward strategic objectives requiring extended deployment periods. Rodriguez listened carefully to the logistics analysis, recognizing how it supported and expanded upon his own tactical assessments. The combination of intelligence disciplines created a more complete understanding of the situation than any single analytical approach could provide. Military effectiveness depended on this type of collaborative analysis that leveraged different areas of expertise to develop comprehensive operational pictures. The briefing continued with assessments from communications and field operations units, each contributing specialized knowledge that enhanced overall understanding of the developing situation. The structured approach ensured that all relevant factors received proper consideration while maintaining focus on the specific intelligence requirements identified by senior command. As the individual presentations concluded, Colonel Peterson initiated discussion of potential response options based on the collective analysis. The range of possibilities extended from enhanced monitoring and intelligence gathering to various levels of military preparation and potential deployment scenarios. Each option required careful consideration of strategic implications, resource requirements, and coordination with allied forces. Based on the intelligence presented, we need to consider three primary response tracks, Peterson stated. Enhanced intelligence gathering to monitor developing situations, increased readiness levels for potential deployment scenarios, and coordination with allied commands to ensure unified response capabilities. The discussion of response options revealed the complexity of modern military decision-making. Each potential course of action involved multiple variables including political implications, resource allocation, operational timelines, and coordination requirements with other military and governmental organizations. The briefing participants brought different perspectives based on their specialized knowledge and operational responsibilities. Rodriguez found himself called upon to provide additional tactical analysis to support discussion of specific response scenarios. His expertise in threat assessment and operational planning proved valuable in evaluating the military effectiveness of different options under consideration. The integration of tactical knowledge with strategic planning demonstrated the multi-layered nature of contemporary military operations. The secure communication system in the briefing room activated with an incoming priority message from higher command. Peterson reviewed the message briefly before addressing the assembled personnel with updated guidance that reflected developments at strategic command levels. Joint Chiefs have elevated the situation to priority status, Peterson announced. Were requested to provide detailed operational readiness assessments within 6 hours, with preliminary deployment planning for multiple response scenarios. This represents a significant escalation in our analytical and planning requirements. The elevated priority transformed the afternoon briefing from routine intelligence sharing to active operational planning. Personnel immediately began considering the expanded requirements and the coordination needed to meet the aggressive timeline established by senior command. The transition demonstrated the military's ability to rapidly scale analytical and planning efforts in response to developing situations. Rodriguez recognized that his role would expand significantly under the new requirements. The tactical assessment he had prepared for the original briefing would need substantial development to support detailed operational planning. His expertise in threat analysis and response planning would contribute to multiple planning scenarios requiring different approaches and resource allocations. The briefing room transformed into an active planning center as different units began coordinating their contributions to the expanded analytical requirements. Personnel established communication links with other installations and began accessing additional intelligence resources needed to support comprehensive operational planning. The systematic approach reflected years of training and experience in rapid response to developing military situations. Williams approached Rodriguez as the formal briefing concluded and working groups began organizing for the expanded planning requirements. Her expression conveyed both professional excitement about the challenging analytical work ahead and awareness of the serious implications of the situation they were addressing. Intelligence wants your tactical assessment expanded to cover potential response timelines and resource requirements, she informed him. They're particularly interested in your analysis of hostile capabilities and probable operational objectives based on the deployment patterns we've identified. Rodriguez nodded, already beginning to consider the expanded analytical framework needed to address the comprehensive planning requirements. The transition from routine intelligence briefing to active operational planning represented exactly the type of challenging professional situation that made military service both demanding and professionally rewarding. The afternoon's developments had transformed a routine day that began with physical training in the base gymnasium into active participation in strategic planning that could influence military operations across multiple regions. The rapid transition demonstrated the unpredictable nature of military service and the importance of maintaining constant readiness for whatever situations might develop. As personnel began dispersing to their expanded planning responsibilities, Rodriguez reflected on the morning's workout session that now seemed like it had occurred days rather than hours earlier. The physical and mental preparation that routine training provided proved invaluable during periods of increased operational demands. His clear thinking and physical energy, enhanced by the morning's exercise, would prove crucial during the extended planning session that lay ahead. The base's operational tempo had increased dramatically since the morning briefing, with personnel moving between buildings and coordination centers with focused urgency that reflected the elevated priority assigned to the developing situation. Vehicle traffic increased as additional staff arrived from other installations to support the expanded analytical and planning requirements. Rodriguez gathered his materials and prepared to transition to the expanded planning center being established in the adjacent building. The intelligence analysis he had completed during the morning would serve as the foundation for much more comprehensive operational planning that would likely continue well into the evening hours. His role as tactical operations officer positioned him as a key contributor to whatever response plans emerged from the collaborative planning process. The secure elevator carried Rodriguez to the fourth floor where the expanded planning center was being organized. The facility featured multiple workstations with advanced computer systems and secure communication links that would support coordination with military installations worldwide. Large wall displays showed global operational maps and intelligence summaries that provided context for the regional situation requiring immediate attention. As Rodriguez entered the planning center, he observed the controlled urgency that characterized military organizations responding to developing situations. Personnel from different specialties worked systematically through their assigned responsibilities while maintaining awareness of the broader operational picture being developed through collaborative effort. The professional atmosphere reflected years of training in rapid response to complex military scenarios. The expanded planning center hummed with focused activity as Rodriguez established his workstation among the array of intelligence analysts and operational planners who had been assembled for the comprehensive assessment. Large digital displays along the walls showed real-time intelligence feeds from multiple sources, creating an information-rich environment that supported rapid analysis and decision-making. The sophisticated technology represented years of military investment in capabilities that could provide strategic advantages during critical planning periods. Rodriguez accessed the secure intelligence database and began developing the expanded tactical assessment requested by Joint Command. The original morning analysis would serve as the foundation for much more detailed operational planning that addressed multiple response scenarios and their associated resource requirements. His task involved translating intelligence observations into specific military recommendations that could guide strategic decision-making at the highest levels. The satellite imagery continued updating throughout the afternoon, providing additional confirmation of the coordinated military activities that had triggered the elevated planning requirements. New photographs showed continued vehicle movements and equipment positioning that reinforced Rodriguez's initial assessment of strategic rather than tactical operational preparation. The persistent nature of the observed activities eliminated any remaining doubt about the serious nature of the developing situation. Major Chen from the Strategic Planning Unit approached Rodriguez's workstation with additional intelligence materials that had arrived through classified channels. The information included detailed technical assessments of observed military equipment and capabilities that would enhance understanding of potential threat levels and operational timeframes. Chen's expression conveyed both professional focus and underlying concern about the implications of the expanding intelligence picture. The technical intelligence confirms your assessment of sophisticated planning capabilities, Chen reported quietly. The equipment configurations show advanced communication systems and logistical support capabilities that could sustain extended operations across multiple operational theaters simultaneously. Rodriguez reviewed the technical assessments while incorporating the new information into his expanding tactical analysis. The combination of visual intelligence, communications intercepts, and technical capabilities assessment created a comprehensive threat picture that justified the elevated response planning underway throughout the military establishment. His role required synthesizing these multiple intelligence streams into coherent operational recommendations. The secure communication system announced an incoming briefing from Strategic Command that would provide additional context for the planning efforts. Personnel throughout the center paused their individual activities to receive the updated guidance that would influence their analytical priorities and planning focus. The systematic approach to information sharing demonstrated military organizational efficiency during periods of heightened operational requirements. General Morrison's image appeared on the main communication display as the strategic briefing commenced. His presence indicated the senior-level attention being devoted to the developing situation and the importance of thorough planning in response to the assessed threats. Morrison had extensive experience in strategic operations and his guidance would provide crucial direction for the detailed planning efforts underway. The intelligence picture has continued developing throughout the day, Morrison began, addressing the assembled planning personnel across multiple installations. Coordination with Allied intelligence services has confirmed similar patterns of military preparation in additional regions beyond our initial assessments. We're looking at potential strategic coordination across multiple hostile commands. The expanded scope of the threat assessment immediately increased the complexity of required response planning. Rodriguez recognized that his tactical analysis would need to address multiple potential operational theaters and the coordination challenges inherent in responding to simultaneous threats across different geographical regions. The strategic implications extended well beyond individual tactical scenarios to include broader questions of resource allocation and alliance coordination. Morrison continued with specific guidance about planning priorities and coordination requirements. We need comprehensive operational plans for 3 primary response scenarios within 12 hours. Plans should address immediate response capabilities, sustained operations requirements, and coordination with Allied forces across multiple operational theaters. This represents our most significant planning challenge in recent years. The timeline and scope of the planning requirements represented exactly the type of complex operational challenge that tested military organizational capabilities and individual professional expertise. Rodriguez understood that his contributions to the tactical assessment would directly influence strategic decisions that could affect global military operations and international stability. As the strategic briefing concluded, planning teams throughout the center immediately began adapting their efforts to address the expanded requirements. Rodriguez accessed additional intelligence databases and began developing tactical assessments for each of the primary response scenarios identified by Strategic Command. The analytical framework required consideration of multiple variables including terrain factors, logistical requirements, timeline constraints, and coordination with allied forces. Captain Williams joined Rodriguez's analytical team as the expanded planning requirements demanded additional expertise in communications intelligence and regional threat assessment. Her knowledge of intercepted communications patterns would enhance understanding of hostile command structures and decision-making processes that could influence operational planning. The collaborative approach leveraged different analytical specialties to develop comprehensive operational assessments. The communications patterns suggest coordination between hostile commands that we haven't seen previously, Williams reported as she established her workstation adjacent to Rodriguez's position. The encryption methods and communication frequencies indicate strategic-level planning that could involve multiple hostile nations working in coordination rather than independent operations. The implications of coordinated hostile planning significantly increased the complexity of required response strategies. Rodriguez began analyzing how multinational hostile coordination would affect tactical response options and the resource requirements for effective countermeasures. His assessment needed to address both individual hostile capabilities and the enhanced threats created through coordinated planning and operations. The afternoon progressed with intensive analytical work as intelligence continued flowing from multiple sources worldwide. Rodriguez maintained focus on tactical assessments while remaining aware of the broader strategic picture being developed through collaborative effort among dozens of military analysts and planners. The systematic approach to complex problem-solving demonstrated military organizational capabilities that had been developed through years of training and operational experience. Additional personnel arrived throughout the afternoon to support the expanded planning requirements. Rodriguez recognized several colleagues from advanced training programs and previous operational assignments who brought specialized expertise to different aspects of the comprehensive planning effort. The gathering of experienced personnel from across the military establishment reflected the serious nature of the situation and the commitment to developing effective response strategies. The secure telephone at Rodriguez's workstation rang with a call from Joint Intelligence requesting specific clarification about timeline assessments based on observed vehicle movement patterns. The coordinated intelligence effort involved dozens of analytical teams working on different aspects of the same threat picture, with Rodriguez's tactical expertise contributing to strategic assessments being developed across multiple military organizations. "We need your assessment of probable operational timelines based on the logistical preparation patterns you've identified," the intelligence coordinator requested. Strategic planning needs specific estimates about when hostile forces might achieve operational readiness based on observed preparation activities. Rodriguez quickly analyzed the satellite imagery chronologically to identify patterns in preparation activities that could indicate operational timelines. The systematic progression of vehicle positioning and equipment deployment suggested carefully planned preparation schedules that could provide insights into probable operational initiation timeframes. His analysis needed to balance specific observations with understanding of typical military preparation requirements. "Based on logistical movement patterns and equipment positioning rates, I estimate operational readiness could be achieved within 10 to 14 days, Rodriguez reported. However, this assumes optimal conditions and no significant delays in their preparation schedule. Weather factors and logistical complications could extend the timeline by several additional days. The timeline assessment would contribute to strategic planning discussions about optimal response timing and resource allocation." Rodriguez understood that his analytical conclusions would influence decisions about when to initiate various response measures and how to coordinate with allied forces for maximum effectiveness. The responsibility for accurate assessment weighed heavily as he continued developing his comprehensive tactical analysis. The evening hours brought continued intensive analytical work as the scope of required planning continued expanding based on developing intelligence. Rodriguez maintained focus on his tactical assessments while coordinating with other analytical teams working on related aspects of the comprehensive response planning. The collaborative effort demonstrated military capabilities for rapid response to complex international situations. As night fell across the base, the planning center maintained full operational tempo with personnel working in shifts to ensure continuous analytical progress. Rodriguez realized that his morning workout session in the base gymnasium represented the last period of routine military life he would experience for the foreseeable future. The transition from peacetime training to active operational planning had occurred with the sudden intensity that characterized military service during international crises. The sophisticated planning center provided all necessary resources for extended analytical work, including secure communication systems, advanced computer capabilities, and real-time intelligence feeds from global sources. Rodriguez appreciated the technological capabilities that enhanced his ability to develop comprehensive tactical assessments under challenging time constraints. The investment in military intelligence infrastructure proved its value during periods of critical operational requirements. Colonel Peterson approached Rodriguez's workstation as the lieutenant completed his timeline assessment and began integrating it with broader tactical recommendations. Peterson's presence indicated continued senior leadership attention to the developing analysis and the importance of Rodriguez's contributions to the overall planning effort. "Your tactical assessment will be presented to Joint Command at 2200 hours, Peterson informed him. They specifically requested your analysis of response timing and coordination requirements for the multiple theater scenarios. Your recommendations could influence strategic decisions about resource allocation and alliance coordination." Rodriguez acknowledged the responsibility while continuing to refine his analytical conclusions. The opportunity to contribute directly to strategic military planning represented the professional challenge he had trained for throughout his military career. His years of preparation in tactical analysis and operational planning had prepared him for exactly this type of critical contribution to military decision-making. The final hours of analytical work focused on integrating tactical assessments with strategic considerations and alliance coordination requirements. Rodriguez's analysis needed to address not only immediate military threats but also the broader implications for international stability and long-term strategic relationships. The complexity of modern military operations required consideration of multiple dimensions beyond purely tactical factors. As Rodriguez completed his comprehensive tactical assessment, he reflected on the remarkable transformation of a day that had begun with routine physical training in the base gymnasium. The unpredictable nature of military service had converted a normal training day into active participation in strategic planning that could influence global military operations. His morning workout had provided exactly the physical and mental preparation needed for the demanding analytical work that had consumed the entire day. The completed assessment represented hundreds of hours of training and experience distilled into actionable intelligence recommendations for strategic decision-makers. Rodriguez understood that his analysis would contribute to discussions and decisions that could affect the lives of military personnel worldwide and influence international stability for years to come. The weight of responsibility balanced with professional satisfaction in contributing meaningfully to critical military planning. Looking ahead to the strategic briefing where his analysis would be presented to Joint Command, Rodriguez felt confident in the thoroughness and accuracy of his assessments. The collaborative planning effort had produced comprehensive response options that addressed the complex international situation with appropriate consideration of strategic implications and operational requirements. His tactical expertise had contributed significantly to military planning capabilities that would guide effective response to developing threats.